This is the future. Evolution. This is the future. Evolution. This is the future.
Hey guys, how's it going? Matt from Foul Ball Productions here. Thank you so much for joining me today. Hope that you're doing well because I'm doing phenomenally. Thank you very much. This is the 73rd episode of the MFer podcast coming at you live. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Typically, this is a Monday show. It's Tuesday. Had some personal life stuff to deal with yesterday. No time to do the show, unfortunately, but here I am. I'm making it up. I'm doing a make good on a Tuesday night to talk about stuff and things and speak my mind about the world, about media, most especially about politics, right, Sencha Dildo? Okay, I do have a slightly different agenda this evening to talk about some different stuff because, last week we were talking and like Dildo's been saying this for a while, and I think it's kind of his personal point of view that he thinks politics are gay. He's very much like Louis J. Gomez in that regard, and I think that's fair. Hello, sir. Good to see you. Cotton Ministries, Papa Cotton. What up? And I think that's fair, but I do think he had a point there a little bit that sometimes talking a little bit too much about politics, it can get you upset. At least it gets me upset. And it's not always the healthiest thing to focus on all the time, occasionally, but it is the news, man. It is what's going on in the country and in the world. And it's everything right now. It's all anyone's talking about. It's like, it's hard to avoid it. But I did manage to find some other stuff today that I won't focus as heavily on politics today. I do have some other things I want to cover, and I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be cool. Going to be kind of a little more old school, just talking media and stuff. I'm going to do the Asmongold thing where I play someone else's video and just talk about it and pass that off as content. Just kidding. I like Asmongold sometimes. He's okay. He's fine. But I did want to say this. So today, the big, beautiful bill passed at the Senate, which is been a point of contention amongst probably the more truly conservative MAGA types, the sort of libertarian MAGA types, and the people who want to cut government spending, cut the debt. It's the very thing that created the rift between Elon and Trump, and that's actually seems to be getting worse. They seem to be back into fighting, which I kind of thought maybe that was just like a little emotional lovers quarrel. But no, they are back, and Elon is fighting on principle, standing on principle, as they say. And he's talking about primarying Thomas Massie or helping Thomas Massie because Trump's talking about it's all this infighting, right? It's all this infighting over all the spending. And, it's a tough one for me. I'm not even all that educated on this stuff, but I don't know. I want the country to be better. More spending sounds bad, but it also, like most of the stuff that I saw in this bill, I was like, I don't know, I like it. It sounds good to me. It's hard to know, and I'm probably not smart enough to even figure it out. So don't listen to me about it. But what I will say is this: it's nice that we're actually debating the issues, right? We're actually having conversations about what's really going on and what the best solution for that is. It's like the culture of the United States of America changes so rapidly that it's like it's hard to think. But I mean, just like over the past few years, the level of insanity that was mainstreamed, that was popular, and the truth being censored all over the internet. And basically, it was like you were arguing with like someone's like manufactured idea of the world. And now we're actually talking about the real deal. And most of that childish, fantasy, woke leftist bullshit has been sidelined. And like that quickly in just the few months that he's been in president. What's it, 6 months now? 5 months? Not that long. But it's such a dramatic change in the nature. And it's like, you've seen the culture, right? I think we're all pretty dialed in here. We're all pretty like chronically online. I know that I am. And I'm pretty sure when I bring up kind of relatively obscure stuff, you guys don't seem confused as to what I'm talking about. You seem to be dialed into the pulse of culture. And I think like we've seen it, right? To the point where, when I first got into YouTube, why I got into it was because of the media, like not like the liberal media, like film and television, and how crazy it had gotten and how packed full of propaganda it all was. And it just was a, a demoralizing hellscape, where all our favorite things were just being warped and turned into the most evil, malicious, disrespectful propaganda. And it was just this place where I finally found other voices and other, people who saw the same thing I did. And that was rad. And then I think it got to the point where that became so obvious that became like the normal opinion. Back like when The Last Jedi came out, it was a big rift. A lot of people got upset. It's kind of before I was in YouTube, but it was like, in the culture, there was this kind of, it was a fight about it. Right. There were very loud voices on the sides, but like I feel like the side of like all of our content has gotten gay. It was a minority opinion. And now I feel like it's the majority. It's almost like hard to argue like what's the other side of this discussion, that isn't like, yes, it's all full of propaganda, but that's a good thing, would be the only counter you could offer. I mean, it's slop, so much slop that just keeps coming out, and to the point where it's like I'm not even upset about it. I just don't care. I'm just like, whatever. Okay, people get some chuckles making fun of the Ironheart show. That's cool. I think that's great. I'm not going to cover it. Oh, the Riri Williams show is bad. Okay, like what am I going to add to it? Maybe some jokes. Maybe if I had some clever jokes about it, but I don't even have the energy to like investigate it. I'm just going to kind of let the guys who do that. I'll check in with it. I'll get a good laugh with them. But my point being is that the culture has shifted so dramatically that it's like the default point of view is now what was controversial just a few years ago. And since Trump's election, how much that has shifted even more aggressively. Let me see here. What are you guys saying here? Cotton. Things probably won't change until the country isn't run by blackmailed. It's the first 10 minutes, Cotton. Okay, I'm trying to remain monetized for as long as possible. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't disagree, but it's just, oh, Jesus. All right. Well, you're still talking about manufactured ideas. Yes, no, I am. I mean, that's what they were, though. And it was, you had to argue with like manufactured ideas with a fantasy. You couldn't have a real conversation like based in facts and the reality around you. It was like going to war with an ideology is what it was. And it's literally just when you're having conversations. I'm not even saying like, online, just like in life. It was just so overwhelmingly, that was the culture. It was like this just hive mind bot, NPC, trans women are women kind of shit that you just have to like grit your teeth and get through. But everything has changed so much. And I think that's like worth remarking on. I think that's worth like observing, because it's like we do kind of forget, right? Like, even on YouTube, like, I don't know if you guys know, but I feel like YouTube is a lot less restricted. I feel like I was under the thumb here, even though it's a pretty insignificant channel. There was just, every live stream I would do would get demonetized instantly. There was always just, I would lose subscribers all the time. Just felt like there was something going on with this channel that was just like, it had like an X, like a bad C for conservative or something. And it was, but I feel like a lot of that's lifted. And even if that all was made up in my head and I'm just being paranoid, I just feel like the content that I'm also seeing on YouTube is a lot more free. It's a lot more honest. It doesn't, I don't see those stupid little warnings underneath, that like tell you like the misinformation warnings. And, when you see like just like even social, I feel like social media in general has gotten toned down with all that bullshit. Not to say there isn't a lot of bullshit on there. It's just not the same. It's not coming from that same hive that wants to control thought and, manufacture this utopia in their image. I feel like it's changed. And I wanted to use this as illustration. Not that I care all that much about this story. I really don't. But I do want to just show it, as I think it's such an indication of that things have changed so much. This is that trans swimmer, Leah Thomas, right? Big rallying point for the kind of conservatives, the sort of, right wing of this country or whatever. And, I don't think it's nothing. I think it's something for sure. I think, you get a lot of low IQ, like a lot of like not in the conversation takes on this very story, because it is one of those ones that's so egregious. And it's so like, it's just one of those things that like everyone can start weighing in on, but it's also going to be coming with a lot of people who have not been paying attention at all. And so to them, they're just like, one day women were swimming with other women, and the next day there's dudes in the pool, and they don't see all the context and whatever. So, you get a lot of stupid takes about it. So weighing in on it almost makes you sound like one of them, and that's fair. But what I do think this is interesting is that like, this is a college, this is a university, right? Penn like completely changed their stance 100% on what this whole thing that was going on, where, we're all supposed to just pretend this is normal, and we're supposed to accept this and validate people's identity. I'm very much of the mind of Danny Polishuk, the Canadian comedian. He's like, you're not going to get me to care about women's sports no matter what you do. And I think that's fair. I still don't. I see like the Caitlin Clark controversy on X every once in a while, and I couldn't care less. I don't care. I think it's funny, but it's still the WNBA, and it's still a joke. And women's sports are whatever. They're a niche thing. Go off, Queen, but I don't care. But I think like what happened with like Trump getting elected and the culture kind of like, universally saying, we're not into this gay shit anymore. Like, and I mean that as a catch-all term of a lot of the stuff that like we've all kind of had to just accept. And that's just part of the life now. It's like, I think there was a resounding group response. We're like, nah, no. And it almost gives people gives Penn, right? Like if Kamala's in office or Biden's in office, it doesn't give them the permission to stand up to this. But I think like when you have such a majority and, a democratization of voices, for whatever it is, there's it's like the whole thing. Everyone's got a podcast, live stream. There's so much political noise, but it does diversify what can be said and what is said and what is heard. And I think that's super important. And I think like I said, I think like all of that contributes to the fact that the culture now there has changed. And now someone like a college, right? Like a factory, a farm, a re-education camp that churns out these little communists has changed its stance 100%. I mean, they made it a public apology. They basically were just like, we were wrong about all of this and we're sorry. and no more dudes acting like chicks in the pool. And it's like, that's big, dude. That is a big cultural shift, because that was like, for some reason, the trans issue in this country was like one of those things for a while, very hot button, and would fire people up. But for some reason, the institutions would cave to it. I mean, you'd still see, even after Trump got elected just a few months ago, the Democratic Party, the kind of more establishment left, they were still like sticking up for this like trans women in sports bullshit, right? Like they're holding on to that. It's like one of these things that mattered. And so when you see like at the nucleus, right, of this whole like organism, this whole giant like sphere of thought and misinformation and crazy, it right in the core, right in its power plant, they cut it off. That's a big change. That's a huge indication to me that things in this country have truly changed, and the stranglehold that kind of extreme fringe woke left had on culture and our institutions is weakening. I'm not one of these people who's like, woke's over, we won, but it's looking good. Stuff like this to me are like, they're like temperature checks, right? Like that's like, it's how you get a real read on like what's going on in the country. And I think something like this is very, very significant. And if you're someone who cares about that kind of, the ship getting righted again, like us kind of coming back to some sort of level of sanity, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. I understand that. But I think we can go back to somewhere where, we're going to debate about the merits of this big, beautiful bill, but we're not going to, it's like, we're not going to be like arguing over all this insane shit. It's not just going to be like crushed with, propaganda and bullshit. We can actually, go back to kind of living in a society again. I hope. Maybe I'm just being way too optimistic about this, but it would be fucking nice. It would be fucking nice. Hello, the lovely Sherry. Oh, no more cleavage? Oh, well. That's okay. Good to see you. How are you? Cotton, women allowed this to begin with. I don't see how this is my problem. You're talking about the women's sports thing. That has always been my position. Always. It's like, you did this. Chicks did it, and now you're suffering. It's like, oh, well, I don't know. You guys started this shit. I had nothing to do with it. I was, never thought it was real. Like I remember, like when Ozempic became popular, and I was hearing like people who I thought were rational, like, okay, can we now admit that the body positive thing was bullshit? It's like, I never didn't. Like, why do you need this to like validate that was always bullshit? You knew it was always bullshit, so say it's always been bullshit. Like, why? Like, that's what I don't understand is like these people, it's like, I guess they're just more agreeable personalities. They just, they don't have the stomach to constantly be at battle with other people. But like, I think it's bullshit. So I'm going to say it's bullshit. I don't need a consensus to give me the freedom or the permission to tell you that I think it's bullshit. I think it's bullshit. We all know that, because in our hearts, if you get past like, oh, I'm just being nice, it's like, fuck that. You know what I mean? You should be kind, but you shouldn't lie to enable people so that they don't have to deal with reality. That isn't kindness. That's like delayed cruelty, But I completely agree with you, Cotton, and I've always felt that way. I just learned what this term is, by the way, sentient dildo. Glad we can bring it up. Yep. It's switched from troons groping them in the pools to yeets groping them in the pools. Well, there's still work to be done. But yes, I mean, it's true to a degree. God damn it, Lula, shut up. This cat, she's mewing. I figured if I opened the door, she'd be, chiller, but I was wrong. But yeah, troon, that was a new one to me. I learned that one recently. I read it, but I never knew what it meant. What up, Gooch? Good to see you, sir. Good to see you. Real fascism hasn't been tried, though. That's so funny. That's great. Well, that's all. I don't really want to go off on politics very much today. I think point made, sentient dildos. Not to say I'm never going to talk about it again, but currently right now I'm kind of like, all right, we can set away for it for a little bit. But I just wanted to point that out because I think it's like it's easy to lose sight of that. It's easy to see that, oh, like, oh, whatever thing I'm like focused on today. And it's like, that is cool. I get that. But like, we got to count the W's here, and the culture is changing. I hope the entertainment will follow. I hope that we'll get some good stuff. I was watching the Critical Drinker had a video out today about that Brad Pitt movie F1, and he gave it glowing praise. I guess the director, whose name I'm not really familiar with, same guy who did Top Gun Maverick. I guess he just sort of followed that template and basically just put it into the F1 thing. And it's like, I don't know. That's cool. Like when I was a kid, like we didn't have a problem with the fact that like most action movies kind of followed the same, formula. It worked fine then. Like, I don't mind. Like, it can't become stale and predictable. It can't just be kind of like, okay, but it's, I mean, 3-act structure and the hero's journey still work as storytelling mechanics. And I actually have something I want to say about that later on in the stream, but we're going to get into something real quick. And I want to talk about this trailer. Okay, Sinja Dildo. I'm just glad you've seen the light about your stupid troon crap, and now you can focus on doing what's really important, helping your greatest ally. Look, all right, you know what? You brought it up. Sentient Dildo. All right. I was going to move on. I wasn't even going to talk politics, but guess what you just got? You got yourself a sermon, brother, and I'm preaching. No, I think that was a fantastic move by Donald Trump. I was way wrong. I think he played them all. I think he goaded the neocons in Israel into being like, dude, of course we're going to do regime change. Obviously, we're going to go do that. And then just like one airstrike knocked out the nuclear site. And it was just like, hey, we did it. Woohoo. All right. And then they all have to be like, fuck, I said all I wanted was the nuclear thing did. And then he took care of it. And now I can't pretend that I really wanted regime change, what I really wanted. And I think he's just like, all right, we're moving on. It's peace. They agreed. It's a peace thing. We're done. I know it gets overstated. I think he 4D chessed him. I really do. I think he handled that as great as could possibly have ever been asked for. It was brilliant in my opinion, and I loved it. And I'm very happy to have been wrong about the whole Iran situation. That was great fucking news. I'm thrilled. Okay, I'm moving on. Edgar Wright, enough said. Now, I don't quite know. So we're going to talk about the new Running Man trailer. I really appreciate the 1987 movie. It was one of those movies that I felt like when it was, when I was a kid, it felt like one of the lesser Schwarzenegger movies. It was one of those ones that was kind of fun and campy and over the top, but I feel it has aged so well. It's one of those movies that's like so perfect. It's so 1980s. It's insane. Like just the look of it, like all the bad guys, the one-liners, the setting, but it that almost all supports why it's so cool. Cause it's like extra camp and it's almost like a cartoon or like a comic book, but that's what makes it sick. It's so good. And so they're remaking it with Edgar Wright, as Lovett points out. Now, the thing is, I feel like years ago, that used to mean a lot more. That used to be a good thing. If I saw Edgar Wright's name attached to something, I was like, let's go. Like, I'm a big Scott Pilgrim fan. I love that film, albeit, less as I get a little bit older, but I still love it. Quoted all the time. Shaun of the Dead, fantastic. Hot Fuzz, fantastic. World's End, people like to defend it. It's not one that I really love, but I appreciate what it was going for. It's not as good, but it's good. But Baby Drivers, loathsome in my opinion. I hate that movie. I went to the theaters with a girl and saw that, and I was just like, what is this? Like, when he's like walking down the street, I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, oh my God, am I supposed to find that adorable? Is that supposed to be endearing? That little cutesy dancing shit down the street? Ugh. I was appalled. And that movie was so empty. It was really like Edgar Wright had an idea. He's just like, dude, I'd love to have a cool movie about like a bunch of thieves that like rob banks and this cool kid who listens to music who like drives them away. And we'll figure out the script on the way. And they never figured out the script. Just, I don't know. And then he did that other movie that was supposed to like some like, was it like a murder movie? But there's like ghosts and shit involved. I did not hear anything good about it. I didn't check it out. I had no interest. I feel like his star has fallen. I feel like Edgar Wright does not command the same level of respect that he used to. And that was, correct that he used to, but we're going to see. I'm not getting into politics anymore. I'm moving on, Cotton. I'm moving on. You never watched The Running Man? I think it's fantastic. I think it's great. It's cool. It's like dystopia. It's good dystopic fiction. It's like the government, man. They're like in on it. It's like cool. I don't know. I love it. It's very like campy and exaggerated and just a fun movie. Just a blast. It's like, it's always that funny thing. Like when Arnold is just like the regular guy, and he's still like this just gigantic man. You're just like that. I don't know any regular guys like that, but I love it. The new movie is based on the book, not the movie. Yes, I know that. We're going to get into it a little bit. Lindsay, hello, Lindsay, the cynical geek. You did not care for the Running Man trailer, to be honest, too flashy. Well, we're going to play the whole thing and then we can talk about the actual trailer. Yes, Baby Driver is cringe. Good driving porn, though. Well, that's all it is. Driving porn set to music Edgar Wright really likes. And that's it. It's the stupidest thing. Like, even the one thing that they did kind of well was they built up Jamie Foxx as this villain and then they just kill him. And then they replace him with John Hamm because he like got his girlfriend killed or whatever. It was like, why didn't you just keep it with Jamie Foxx? He was the bad guy. He was terrifying. He was a good villain. And then you have Kevin Spacey as like the big boss guy who then just was literally threatening like the only person that Baby Driver cared about, like his life, was threatening that person's life to get him to do more jobs. And then was like, oh, I'm just a sucker for young love. Okay, I'll die while you guys escape. Like, what the fuck? What was that character change and why? Just because he just felt nostalgic about when he was is so stupid. Just such a bad movie. Anyway, what's up, Zax? Hello, sir. Hello. Okay, we're gonna watch the trailer. I'm probably gonna get copyright claim for it. Whatever, man. I don't care, bro. I don't give a fuck, bro. That's how badass I am for you guys. I'll just do whatever, dude. You know what I mean? I'm out here, son. All right. Let's watch this. I'm gonna try not to pause it too much because I do that a lot and I don't want to do it. Oh, that's me. It's the wrong one. Hold on. Where are we? No, there it is. Okay, cool. All right. Boom. Closed captions on? No. Wait, why is it like, okay, let's go.
Ben Richards, 35, married, one child, in medical crisis.
We need money for a doctor now.
Ben, watch us up.
Employment status, blacklisted. But there's still a way out for you. It's the biggest show in the country.
Bloodlust is our birthright. Set it free. Welcome to the Running Man.
People on these games never come back.
I'm not trying to get myself killed, so kiss my ass twice.
Right there is why you can win this game. The rules are simple. Survive 30 days with the entire nation hunting you down. And get your family out of Slumside for good.
I'm gonna come back here and burn this building down. I promise.
That's the spirit.
This is America, goddammit! And we don't put up with no bullshit! Yeah!
I will say, yes, Josh Brolin, dude, he's one of those guys that, like, I don't care what he does. He's the man. He's just, he's done some projects I don't like and stuff like that, but he's just one of those actors that I just love. I just respect the hell out of him. He's got such good command. He's such a good goddamn actor. and he's, versatile and does all these things. And it's like, you don't even really think of him, until he shows up. It's like, I'm not like aware of Josh Brolin like at all, except like when he's in the movies, it's like, yeah, that's fucking Thanos. But you don't think of that. You think of Thanos. You don't think of Josh Brolin playing Thanos. Like even when you talk about all those Avengers movies, no one, Josh Brolin's name never comes up. We just say Thanos. Like that's how impressive he is. He's just one of these guys, man. I just think Josh Brolin is the fucking man. Zax, what up, dog? Thank you for joining my channel, buddy. I appreciate that. That means a lot. Thank you, pal. Thank you very much. Oh, then you gift a membership. Look at you. Look at you. Oh, you flatter me. You flatter me. And Love It got it. Let's go. Hell yeah, boy. Thank you, sir. That's what's up, my friend. Much appreciated. Much. That's very sweet. Very sweet of you, Zax. Oh, you know what? I got one. I got one for this. Hold on. Give me 1 second.
You're fucking all right, eh?
That's for you Canadian.
You're fucking all right, eh?
There you go. From the movie Goon. That was a better movie than I remembered. Only movie where he was mid is Dune, but I blame that on the Frog director. Isn't he Canadian? He's not. Is he? I thought he was French Canadian. Is he French? I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah. I mean, no one's really a standout in that movie, to be honest. It's all kind of. It's much like the color palette. It's sort of dull and washed out. But they're entertaining. Those movies are fine. They don't offend me. Goon is shockingly good, except the first act is an absolute mess of a first act. It's so rushed and crowded and clunky, but once it actually gets into the story, it's like way better than it should be. It's really fun. I recommend Goon a lot.
Hunt him down! Stop filming me!
Have you ever wondered if this game is rigged?
Guess we'll find out.
You might be moving up too fast.
Hey, buddy. You're on Freebie.
Yeah. You better run! I got a grenade!
Back at you.
I'm still here, you shit eaters. Hey, big boys!
Are you crazy?
Not just the women, apparently, lovely Sherry. Who's that guy, Zax? Who's that gay fella that is in your chat? One day he went off on me for not knowing who the hell Glenn Powell was. And I was like, okay, sorry. Don't know who that is. Like he's, been the backup. He was like the fifth guy in Top Gun Maverick and in some rom-com with Sydney Sweeney I was never going to watch. Sorry, man. My bad. But okay, so that was the trailer for The Running Man. Now, I will say this. I have actually read, but I listened to the audiobook. I think I listened to the audiobook of The Running Man. Actually, I think it kind of sucks. I'm not a fan of it. It's the Richard Bachman, which is like Stephen King as a pseudonym. I thought in the original film, I thought they made the right move to like camp it up and make it more like over the top and absurd, because when you read the book, you're like, that is so implausible. You're like, so he's just running around the city. Like, wouldn't like dozens of civilians die every episode? Like, it just seems so much. It seems so much wackier. I thought it made a lot more sense to have it in like that kind of like big giant arena thing that they could, control and have with like cameras and, produce it so the bad guy always loses. Like, I don't know, like the actual premise of the book, which is much more better reflected in this trailer, seemed really stupid to me. I was like, that's not a great premise. It was a solid idea, I guess, but I thought the writers and the director of the original Running Man movie did a good job, like elevating it to something that made a little bit more sense, was a little bit more campy and fun. But this is the new direction. I'll be honest, it's not motivating me to go see it. There's something off about it. Like you know what it looks like to me? You know what it bugs me? It seems devoid of style. Like it just seems like a movie, whereas Edgar Wright, I feel like his style, especially early on, was so articulate. Like he got jokes from edits. Like he got laughs from like an edit or a cut. I felt like everything he made was so distinct. I don't know if it was like an Edgar Wright style necessarily, but I feel like when he would make a movie, he made a movie like in that style really well. Like if you look at Shaun of the Dead, like in certain ways, it kind of resembles like 28 Days Later a little bit, like just the sort of washed out kind of like color palette, which is kind of like this sort of dreary London, and then like the zombie violence and stuff was just a solid like horror movie as it was. And then Hot Fuzz like has like this real snappy, aggressive, like cop action movie style, even though it's contrasted with like this funny kind of, the countryside little village, best village ever, blah, blah. This just looks like a movie. It doesn't look like, if you told me afterwards that Edgar Wright directed that, I'd be like, oh, really? Oh, okay. Like it doesn't feel like him. It feels like they're really leaning into the jokes, like the comedy of it, which I don't know. If you're honoring the book's just grim as hell. There's no comedy at all. So I don't know about that kind of paint job. And have we had enough of that kind of like quippy little quick jokes with the violence, like the Marvel style of entertainment? I just feel like, all right, I don't know. Let's see what you guys are saying. Sentient Dildo. I don't know. Don't like the trailer, but that don't mean much. Can't trust trailers these days. Still not a fan of the look of the movie. No, me neither. I'm not rushing out to see it. I think it'll probably just be a moderate success. It'll probably just make a little bit over its budget back. It won't be a failure. It'll have like a solid like 79 on Rotten Tomatoes. It'll just be a movie that comes and goes. I don't think it's going to make an impact. I don't think it's going to be like a forgotten pile of crap like the Total Recall remake that came out in like, was that 2011? Did you ever see that movie? That movie's insane. That movie's crazy. There's like an elevator that goes through like the center of the earth for some reason. And it's like only loosely an adaptation of the Total Recall movie. Like it really feels like someone Frankenstein like had some idea for like a sci-fi script. It's like, what if we repackage it to be a Total Recall remake for brand recognition? And we don't accomplish either one. We don't give you something novel. We don't give you a good adaptation or remake or reimagining of the original awesome film. So I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be that. I respect that they're taking a chance that we're going to be more honorable to the book, even though, like I said, I'm not a big fan of the book. I like the choice. I think that's cool. But Josh Templeton, still nothing like the book, but looks fun. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It'll be the kind of thing where I can't imagine I would go out to like see it. Like I can't imagine I'd spend the $20 or whatever it is to go to the movies, and then add on drinks and parking and the hassle of just going to the movies. I can't imagine I would do that for it. But, if it was on streaming relatively quickly, I'd probably watch it just to check it out. I don't think I'd inconvenience myself to go watch it though. The shift in tone between this and the OG Running Man is super jarring. Yep. Yeah, that doesn't fit. Like, I think that's kind of like an asset. Like, I don't think he should try to recreate the original. I think that'd be a mistake. I think he should, do his own thing. But I don't know if this is the right choice. If you read the book, it's not good. Like, it's boring. It's not the type of thing to me that jumps out as something that you'd have to adapt, Like, I'd almost want to see him take a swing at like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I feel like if anyone could do it, it would be like Edgar Wright, like that. original movie, and that was a long time ago. It was at least 20 years ago, right? When did that come out? Like early 2000s, and it's not very well remembered. It wasn't a very good adaptation. Like if you're going to go after something like that, I would rather you do that. You know, take another shot at Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That would be cool. That's something that we need, I think, because I don't know, maybe the humor has aged in a way that won't work, but I think like if Edgar Wright's going to tackle some kind of remake or reimagining, I think that would be a far more appropriate project for him than, I don't know, this. Like, okay, I just feel like this is going to come and go. I feel like it's going to not make much of an impact, and you know, Jimmy Swaggart just died. Couldn't happen to a better guy. Who was that? That name sounds familiar. Oh, that guy. Oh, he died? That's too bad. All right, babe. See you, pal. That was Josh. It was Josh. Josh McDonald. I knew it was a Josh somebody, and I didn't want to accuse Josh Templeton of being a homosexual because that wouldn't be fair. But that was Josh McDonald. That's right. I thought it was a Josh, but I wasn't sure. All right, yeah. Josh McDonald was the one busting my balls for not knowing who Glenn Powell is. I know who Glenn Powell is now. Okay, Josh? All right. Oh, my word. It was written in the 70s, so the technology was not there. Oh, okay. You're talking about the book. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't even about the technology. It was just the concept. You're like, so the whole city is trying to kill one man. Like, I don't feel like he'd have a chance, to survive. And even if he did, like, wouldn't that just ultimately also kill a bunch of citizens? Like, how could this be a show that people would want to participate in or watch? And like, if he ever walked down one street, wouldn't it just be like everyone would just like, reach out, shoot out the windows, like, and it would be over? It just doesn't seem like much of a challenge, but I don't know. It wasn't I don't remember it being a particularly interesting book, so we'll see. I don't know. I'll say this, like, it's not offensive to me. You know what I mean? It's not one of these things that exists where I'm like, ugh, here we go. Like, they're doing a Squid Game remake. Why? Like, it just came out. Why do they feel the need to adapt these things that already exist? Oh, well, we got to make it. And guess who it is? It's David Fincher, the same guy who did the Dragon Tattoo movies. It's like, why do you like doing that? Like, it's like the movie already exists. It's already good. There's no reason to, we're going to use American actors and redo the story beat for beat. Like, okay. It just came out though. Like, I'd rather you take something a little bit more obscure and then adapt that for like a modern audience. Like, that'd be fun. I don't know, man. I have not read the Total Recall book either. Was it We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, I think is the name of the book. Is that Philip K. Dick? Is it? I think it is. I've never read it either. But Total Recall is one of my favorite movies. So it's one that's perfect in my head. It doesn't need to change. Marvel humor is a disease. They got a cure. I agree. Enough of that cutesy quippy bullshit. And it's a problem with like comedy in general, right? Like, did you guys know that there was a History of the World Part 2 that came out? I had no idea that existed. And then I saw who was involved and I was like, I'm glad I didn't, because I have no interest. It's all the Hollywood funny people, like Josh Gad and Wanda Sykes and who's that other guy? Oh God, it's right in the tip of my tongue. Let me see. Hold on. I can almost say it. I can't think of it. Nick Kroll, right? All these people that, they're so funny. They're like Hollywood. They're not real funny, And now that there's no gatekeeping with who's funny just exists now because you can put out your own special and can do terrific. And podcasts are kind of like their own network that actually like promote genuinely funny people. And you could create your own podcast out of nowhere, doing that as well. So it's like there's this whole new ecosystem and they keep trying to push these unfunny people on me. And I'm like, yeah, we're not into that. We do not find these people funny. And I think, is it Josh Gad? He's involved in the new Spaceballs movie that's supposed to be coming out. there are genuinely funny people out there, but Hollywood, they still do their gatekeeping thing. And, we get the Hollywood funny people. It's like, okay, no one's going to find that interesting or watch it or like it. But, to their credit, I will say Netflix renewed tires for this season 3. Gave Shane Gillis his next season. That's good. He's hilarious. We should embrace people like that, Racists who hate Asians. Just kidding. He doesn't hate Asians. Or hear me out. They do something original, a crazy idea. I know. Well, good luck, buddy. Good luck with that one. Sometimes they try original and you're like, maybe you should just stick to like that show Sugar. The fuck was that? That was so weird. Such a great start. And then you're like, what? You can't just throw that in the middle of this like detective noir show. Where the hell did that come from? Are you crazy? You can't just drop that in the middle of this show and be like, okay, I'm just going to go back to this missing persons case. It's like, there's something, you just changed the tone pretty dramatically. Can we address that? I can't like ever get back on board with your like small scale mystery. Now, if you're going to throw that at me, can we get into what the fuck that's all about, please? Oh, they just threw that in the middle of the season. That was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Hey, Man of War, what up? Michael Cera's in it. Here's my review. I'm still a big Scott Pilgrim fan, so I understand. I get that reaction, but I understand that reaction, but I do always like Scott Pilgrim. They could just buy one of your stories. Hell yeah, I love it. Sell them. Or better yet, produce it. Make it all AI. AI slop is going to ruin the world. I'm pretty sure we're doomed with the AI slop. It's so much stuff, and it's only going to get better. And then we're all just going to be subsumed in it. And that's just going to, that's not going to do good for culture and people. The AI, you see it every day now. Scrolling on the internet, memes, videos, we're awash in it. And now I don't know, I can't trust video clips anymore. Like I saw like this video, it was like a stupid little thing on Twitter, but it was all these kids doing backflips, like 40 of them in a row. And I was like, was that real? And now that's throwing into doubt everything that I watch now. And I'm like, uh-oh, this is a bad thing. This is not going to work out well for us if we can't question our own eyes. That was one of the things I think we were fighting for in this little culture war here, was being able to believe our own eyes, but now we can't even believe our own eyes. Dystopic reality. Horrible. But good to see you, Man of War. History Part 2 is cringe, super cringe. I didn't even make it 10 minutes. Yeah, well, I once I saw who was involved, I was like, I'm not even gonna look. It's just gonna taint, my very positive like impression of the original. Like, I'm not interested in going and ruining that. But Spaceballs 2 was like, I was like, oh, that's funny. And then like Mel Brooks's little thing, like a little joke at the end, I was like, okay. But when you see who's involved, you're like, it can't be funny. Those people are not funny. Like, they're Hollywood funny, but they're not like real world funny. It's like we're not beholden to you anymore. The internet exists. Huge personalities come out of the internet. Like, you're not the curator anymore. You're not the tastemakers. We almost don't need you. We are so close to not needing you. It's like they do have a extraordinary concentration of like technical talent that is pretty much irreplaceable. If you've ever tried to make a movie, you'll learn that real fast. Oh, sound design doesn't just happen. It's a lot of technical like experts that go into making that work. And that is baseline. If you don't have that, you don't have anything. And that is actually quite difficult to get right, especially in a on location where you don't have control over all the elements. Oh, wow. Color grading. What's that? Oh, you have to adjust every shot in post to make it all look. Oh shit. This is hard. It's not easy. Those technical, those technicians are really important in making movies, and they have all of them. So we can push past that, then we can go. We can actually, you know, maybe get some new good content out there. But in the meantime, they still got all those people. Robin Mel looks great before he's in it. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, he's involved. It's not like he's part of it. So I don't know. But I mean, you know, Mel Brooks, love him. One of the best. But, you know, he lost the sauce a long time ago. I don't even remember, like, he's doing the Spaceballs thing. He's doing the history of the world part thing. But what's the last Mel Brooks movie? Like Robin Hood Men of Tights? That was in like 91. What else has he made since then? And even then, like, I mean, you know, there was a lot of inconsistent ones. We remember the great ones, but there was a lot that aren't all that great. But I still love Mel Brooks, you know. Josh Gad is replacing John Candy in the Spaceballs sequel. Terrible decision. What was it? Cotton was like, was texting me. He's like, it should be Big J. And I was like, how about H. Foley? That would be funny. Some actual funny comedians, not some like, you know, theater gays who are like kind of funny. Nick Kroll's dad is a billionaire. That probably helped him. That makes sense. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I don't, you know, whatever. But it's just like, he's just not that funny. Like, he's fine, but he gets pushed like he's this genius. Like, he's so funny. And I'm like, I don't know. He's completely average. I'm not looking forward to Spaceballs 2. Love it. Mel's fucking old. Mel's super fucking old. Super fucking old. Sugar is not good, Zach. You're crazy. Don't listen to me. Shut up. That is misinformation, okay? And we're not on your show, so I don't have to put up with that here at all. No, I don't. Wasn't Scott Pilgrim the movie where Brie was actually attractive? Yes, it was. She was still fucking hot. Still hot. Well, she was hot then for a little while. Man of War, I'll leap on that grenade. I fucking loathe Scott Pilgrim, and Sarah is reason A number one. That's fine. I mean, I don't expect you would have liked it. I can't imagine that's you or the target audience, Man of War. You know, I don't think cynical dudes from New Orleans were who they had in mind. I love it though. She does play a bitch perfectly. Yes, yes, yes. The original Dragon Tattoo movies are much better. They made Noomi Rapace a star. Yeah, dude, she was so good in that. I remember loving it. I don't know if they'd hold up, but at the time I thought they were absolutely fantastic. Then when they were remaking it, I was like, oh God, really? Okay, here we go. E. Clay Thomason. Bro, computers have been doctoring videos for 40 years. AI is just the next evolution. I know, but there's some uncanniness about, and something like inhuman about the AI thing that like makes me anxious. You know, when a computer's editing a video or something like that, it's like, you know, you're just highlighting and adjusting and adding to things. It's different when it's whole cloth created by AI. That just gives me pure anxiety. I don't know. Matt, let it go down in flames. Yesterday, I watched Solaris for free on YouTube. Yeah. Which one? The Russian one or the George Clooney one? I bet you love the Clooney one. But you're a big fan. Isn't that where like the whole Ocean's Alive or something like that? Isn't that the concept? I remember being a little confused by that movie. But speaking of movies. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of the Asmongold thing where he kind of watches like another video essay and like talks about like kind of responds to like their video essay. And it's not necessarily about this guy's particular essay, but I did just want to talk about this, and I felt like this was a good way to jump off and talk. You guys heard about the movie Warfare? It came out this year as a war movie set like in the American engagement with Iraq, the more recent one. And it's about a squad, I think, of Navy SEALs, I believe is who we're focusing on, but they don't really get into it. And it's a really interesting movie, and I didn't like it. And that's why I want to talk about it, because I didn't like it, and I think you should see it. You know? Because I didn't know what I was getting into. And unfortunately, I do feel like it needs take it easy, love it. Later. I think it needs a little bit of context I appreciated it much more after I learned what it was. But when I went in cold, I came away cold. I just didn't respond to it. But I also think that was sort of the point, which is weird. So let me go play this guy's video and we're gonna talk about it a little bit here. Okay. All right. Holy shit. Mel just turned 99. Damn, dude. Mel Brooks is 99. Hell yeah. What a savage. 99. He still looks great. Pretty sure these productions are just using his name as a skin suit. Yeah, probably. You're right. You're probably right. I'm sure he weighs in, but I mean, you know. Okay, so we'll watch a little bit of this guy's video. Hopefully he doesn't claim me.
So I saw Warfare, and yes, the hype is real. It's a solid depiction of quote-unquote warfare. But more than that, it's a complete rejection of what we've come to expect from modern Hollywood war films. War in cinema is often staged like a ballet, choreographed, precise, beautiful, and above all, romanticized. But Warfare doesn't romanticize anything, it documents. Gone are the sweeping hero shots and rousing speeches. In their place, chaos, confusion, and the quiet procedural grind of staying alive.
And I think that is totally admirable to undertake and probably important, because I do believe, especially the American mind, we are very much formed. I know I have been, and I have a friend directly who basically joined the Army Rangers because of Black Hawk Down, and, you know, was like completely disillusioned, has PTSD, you know, and I almost joined the Marine Corps when I was 18. They washed me out because I admitted to smoking weed, because I was very intimidated by this very scary Marine Corps sergeant. But regardless, a lot of that did come from kind of like the movies that we grow up on. And you know, even the movies that kind of depict it a little bit more cynically, like the Vietnam era and stuff like that, you still get this kind of like heroicism out of it. And there is, and this guy's right, there is like a degree of romance to it that probably is not good, because, you know, war is really, really bad. Hot take, guys, war is bad. But it's not good. And I think it's a great endeavor. The only problem I have with this is that this is a movie. This is a movie, and even when they were trying to fight the tropes of a movie, they kind of even fell back into them a little bit. And let me play a little bit more of the video, and I'll tell you what I mean. Here we go. Yeah, because it wasn't made in your usual string swelling, cheap emotional manipulation Hollywood way. That's what you liked about it. Okay. Yeah. Matt, I've never been with a trans person. Despite Matt almost slayed a dragon, but he ended up slaying a trans queen. No. I did go to college and get much more liberal, but what you could argue is worse. No, it was just like a it was a Bush era. It was different, you know, like they told me my blood test was gonna count for like drug tests, and I was like, oh shit, well, I've definitely smoked weed in the past 6 months. Like I tried to flush my system so that I would pass a piss test, but I was like, if you're doing a blood test, I'm definitely gonna fail. But he lied. That wasn't it. It was an AIDS test. It had nothing to do with drugs. And I panicked. And then they sent me to the psychologist at MEPS, and they're like, why'd you smoke weed? And I was like, peer pressure. You know, I just said the most generic thing that would, you know, answer the questions. Like, why did I smoke weed? Because it's like, because I liked it a lot. We had fun doing it. It was awesome. But I just was giving him like an easy answer. And he decided that I couldn't make decisions in the field, so I couldn't be a Marine. And I was like, what? I just told you the bullshit answer. It was just like what you wanted to hear. Now I can't be a Marine? What the fuck? That's so crazy. My recruiter was just like, I don't know, man. You can try again in 6 months if you want. I was like, wow, I'm disillusioned with this whole thing. This is crazy. And needless to say, I never joined the Marine Corps.
The film is co-directed by Alex Garland and Ray Mendoza. himself a former Navy SEAL who actually took part in the mission the film is based on. And it's
Now, doesn't Alex Garland have like kind of not the best track record when it comes to movies? Right? Like I said, I respect this endeavor, but isn't he? Yeah, he wrote he did Ex Machina, Annihilation, Civil War. You know, these aren't exactly masterpieces. Like Ex Machina was clever. I didn't know what he was going for at the end, though. Was that feminism? Like, what was that at the end? That was weird. Decent, great look. He knows how to shoot a movie, that's for sure. But Annihilation was fine. Wasn't as girl bossy as I was expecting, but it wasn't all that great either. It was weird. It was okay. It was like a decent concept. All right.
the cause of this first-hand experience that warfare manages to reinvent the war genre, not through spectacle, but through suffocating realism. It abandons narrative structure, soaring scores, emotional payoffs, and even character arcs, in favor of something raw and unfiltered. This isn't a...
It does do that, and I'll give it credit for that. And that's what I appreciate like about it. It was like, did you guys ever see Dunkirk? You know, I hate Christopher Nolan. I think I've made that very clear over the years. I think his writing is an insult to anyone that doesn't want their hand held while they're watching a movie. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, I mean, I swear to God, in Batman Begins, they basically like address the camera. Like, you got all that? You all caught up? Jesus Christ. And I just have a lot of issues with Nolan. It's probably more because he just gets glazed so hard. And I'm just like, ugh. But he did that movie, Dunkirk. And I thought it was brilliant because as I'm watching it, I'm like, I don't know what I'm watching. Right? Like, you're kind of waiting for the film to like unfold in some like traditional way, and it never does. And then that's when all of a sudden you realize, like, oh, I'm in this movie now. Like, you don't get introduced to a character and explain the mission. And quite frankly, I didn't even know about the evacuation of Dunkirk. I didn't even know about that whole piece of history. So I went in there with like no knowledge of what's going on here. And then all of a sudden you start to piece it together a little bit. And then by the end, when all the boats come, you're like, oh, that's what this was all about. And I thought it was so brave. I really genuinely thought it was a brave film because it's got no exposition, which is funny because one of my biggest problems with Nolan is how much exposition he puts into his scripts that are just, it's so ham-fisted. He's just like, characters are explaining things to your face that you already know. It's like, I know, I'm watching the movie. I already know all that happened. Why are you telling me again? It's like an insult. But in that, there's none. And I was like, whoa. And not like in a pretentious, like Coen Brothers way where they're like, well, if you didn't get it, you're not smart. Like, in a real, using the language of cinema to communicate a story without telling you what the story is at all is like, and accomplishing that's pretty impressive. Like, I newfound respect, you know what I mean? Like, I still talk shit about him just because everyone talks about him like he's fucking Kubrick. But that is a good movie. And this movie is similar in that regard. It's similar in the sense that as you're watching it, you don't know what you don't know what is this, you know, like, what is this story? And then it kind of slowly just shows you that it's not like a story. Like, it's almost it's documentary style in the sense that it's trying to document like each moment as it happened in like a very authentic way. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. Like, that is a unique take on like the combat warfare type genre. I mean, it's as novel as it comes, quite frankly. Senja Dildo, it's probably culturally different. To be fair, I'm probably less Hollywood brain than you, Matt. I might be more accustomed to storytelling like this. Actually, that is almost certainly 100% true. Yeah, I'd say that's probably a guarantee. I know that Europeans have a much different style of cinema, and I've seen like a lot of them. You know, probably some of the most like famous examples of like the like French New Wave that like created like a new revolution in film and strongly impacted the American film industry. Nothing really happens in a lot of those movies. They're just slice of life. And it's like jarring because you're like, what the fuck was that? What was the story of that? It's like, it's not the point. Like, and they're in ways experimental film. I mean, I still enjoy a great, 3-act structure. I have nothing wrong with the hero's journey. I think Western storytelling works. But I think like it's interesting. Like, I think, especially when you're taking on like the genre of war movies, and I think for me, my generation, and just people at large, like Americans at large, let's say, because I know your experience with war is a lot different, Senchitoto, but like in our country, like we haven't had a war on our shores in 170 years, or you know what I mean? Like it's not something that we ever see, but we do a lot of it off the fucking coast. And we're not there. Unless you were there, you don't know. You hear stories and you read books and you watch documentaries, but you just don't know. And so we do get kind of like, we got for a long time sort of a romanticized version of combat and war in general. And I think we all became very disillusioned with that over the past 20 years. And this is like a good film to explore, that very concept. And I think this is like, it's a very noble effort. I just think you have to understand what you're getting into, because it isn't like a typical war film at all, in the sense that there isn't really an antagonist. A protagonist. There isn't really someone you're following, which I actually think works against this film. And we'll get into that in a minute.
Story about modern warfare. It's an immersion into it. And in that shift, warfare doesn't just reject the conventions of Hollywood war movies, it buries them, which fittingly is echoed by one of the film's posters, where a soldier is practically covered in dirt. Anyway, I digress. In this video, I want to break down what warfare is doing beneath the surface. I'll touch on the tropes it's rejecting, but more importantly, we'll look at the cinematic language it's using instead, and why it seems to be resonating with critics and audiences alike. Now, if you're not familiar with the film, it's just come out and tells the story of a Navy SEAL unit tasked with setting up a surveillance post in a civilian apartment during the Battle of Ramadi during the Iraq War in 2006. What starts as a routine mission quickly turns into a deadly ambush, as the team finds themselves surrounded by Al-Qaeda forces who want nothing more than to kill them.
Oh, it looks like they're getting their jihad on.
What makes warfare unique is that it's based on a true story, and not in the loose Hollywood sense. As I mentioned, co-director Ray Mendoza was actually there. The film opened.
And so this is, the whole point of the film, and I listened to Ray Mendoza talk about it after the film, because I was kind of like, I left an impression on me, but I didn't feel good about it. Like, I didn't enjoy the film. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I didn't know what I was getting into when I started watching it. So once I understood what I was watching, I got a much richer and deeper appreciation for it. But the whole point of the film is it doesn't focus on an individual, because in combat, as Ray says, it's not about the individual. It's about the unit operating as a unit. And I think that's great. Thing is, though, like, if we're going back to like the origins of storytelling, when we're cavemen sitting around a fire, if you're telling a story, you're either telling it from your perspective or from the perspective of the person you're telling the story about. And I respect the endeavor, but unfortunately, when it comes to storytelling, I think you need a protagonist. I think you need someone to see the world through, because we all see the world through our own perspective, right? So it's like you have to relate it, I think, to an individual's perspective to really ground it personally. And I feel like even as this film tried to not do that, they sort of ended up doing it, where we ended up kind of focusing more on the guy that Mendoza's, the actor was playing Mendoza, than anyone. And we ended up kind of, it's like almost by the default nature, default instincts of creating a story, that you do sort of need to have a protagonist. And I think like eventually we do end up kind of focusing more on Mendoza than any other character, which is fine. But it was almost like it was fighting with itself, trying not to do that, but almost like the very natural process of telling a story is you sort of have to. So I guess that's like for me why some of it doesn't quite work. But also, like I said, if I had known what I was getting into, I might have appreciated it a little bit differently. But I don't know. I feel like that is almost too lofty of a goal when you are telling a story, because it's going to come from someone's perspective, and I'm going to receive it from only my perspective. So I just feel like it would have served the film better just to tell Ray's story. But I know his point, and I get it's a very noble goal. Totally understand it, but I feel like it's a little at odds with storytelling myself. This one definitely benefits from the theater experience. I think you said that when I first mentioned this like a few weeks ago. I think you said it was like the audio was just so immersive. And that's kind of cool. I could see that. I think I watched it, on my home TV, which is like okay, but I don't have like Dolby Digital surround sound or anything like that. So it's like that'll definitely change your experience with this film. But even I just think from a narrative perspective, it kind of suffers a little bit. E. Clay Thomason. Is it like the Navy SEALs movie from a few years ago where all the people were real Navy SEALs? No, they're all actors. It's just it's co-directed with this guy, Ray Mendoza, who is a Navy SEAL. I don't know the movie you're talking about. Senchadillo says, at odds with Hollywood-style storytelling, definitely. Fair. I mean, that's fair. I found myself, like, I had like kind of issues because it's like after a while, like I said, I feel like it was contradicting itself. It's trying to not say there's a protagonist, but eventually we end up staying with Mendoza more than anyone. And then this is just like a personal thing, but it was like really tough to just watch these guys suffer and basically not get any payback. And like, I know this is real life, like it's depicting a real story, but it was a little like, you're like, man, I want to see them get some. Because it's like, God, they're just getting hammered this whole movie. And it's like brutal. Like it's brutal and it's ceaseless. And it doesn't have like a traditional story, like beats when beats happen, I think, especially when you're doing a film like this, that's totally cool. That is great. It doesn't need to adhere to a structure. But, it's just unrelenting brutality for like 90 minutes or 2 hours or whatever it is. And then they never even get any payback. You're like, God, they're right there. Shoot them. But they had to survive.
Opens with a simple line. And that idea, memory, shapes the entire movie. From the abrupt editing to the way the moments blur together without clear transitions or explanations, the film doesn't just recreate events, it reconstructs how they were felt. Ray Mendoza even said in an interview,
let me read it. We interviewed as many guys as we could and took a detective-like approach to slotting everyone's memories together. We wanted to make it a really honest film, so if it didn't exist in someone's memory, it did not go into the story. Like I said, incredibly noble endeavor. Like, respect for that level of care and honor of their memories, of how it actually went down, and not doing anything but just reporting as it went down. Fucking great.
We'll get deeper into that later, but it's worth holding on to because once you know this is the soldiers' lived experiences, not a dramatization, it changes how you read the film. Now, this has to be one of the most refreshing openings to a war film I've seen in years. After a few title cards that set the tone, we open on the Call on Me music video. It's loud, hypersexualized, and absurd in the most mid-2000s way possible. Then we see the...
What the hell happened? Did you guys lose the audio too? What the fuck? Where'd the audio go?
Act structure or defined character arcs. And just as we're settling into this moment of levity, it hard cuts. The music stops. No fade, no transition. We're now just on a wide shot of an Iraqi street at night. It's completely jarring, almost like whiplash. There's something surreal about cutting from this ridiculous music video straight into a blacked out combat op. It's like the film is saying, this is how thin the line is between fun and fear. These soldiers go from joking around to preparing for death in a matter of seconds. The contrast highlights the unnatural rhythm of war, and that hard cut is the film's declaration. Warfare isn't going to ease you into anything. It's going to pull you through it.
So, the other thing that I was thinking about with this whole concept, right, where we're talking about a film that's trying to honor like the men and be as honest as possible and not prioritize anyone's account or story over any other. I just finished rewatching for, I don't know, the 10th time, Generation Kill. Now, I think Generation Kill does a spectacular job of honoring the unit, honoring all the individual men, the officers, the sort of like the bureaucracy of like being in the military, that it is, I mean, it is government run. even if it's different, it's still government run in this sort of, clusterfuck that it can be. But the difference is we get, it's granted it's 7 episodes. It's a TV show. It's different than a movie, but we are with the guys in the Humvee more than anything. Right. And we get to know them as dudes, as individuals. It prioritizes them in the story because that was when the journalist who was there when he wrote the book, that's who he was in the Humvee with. So, from that sense, it from that perspective, it makes sense. It's a little different, but I don't think that was any less of an effective execution of trying to honor the real stories that these guys lived through and giving us like a touchstone to connect with. Like, I think that is the problem that I faced with the film, especially not knowing anything about it when I went into it, was that I don't have any connection with any individual here, right? It's just like they're all Navy SEALs. I don't even really know their names. Like, there's nothing personal about them. And I understand, like, the goal of this film was to not do stuff like that. So I get it. But I just can't fight the feeling that when I watched it, it didn't work for me in that regard because there's nothing personal about it. There's nothing human, right? It's like in real life, I know these are real people, like even if it was a documentary about them, it's like it would be different. It's just when in a movie, like I need something a little bit more to connect to. Like I said, I think it's noble. I think it was a fantastic endeavor. And I wish I knew that going in, like what it was. But, just witnessing it essentially cold, it's like I'm struggling to get into this. It's like I'm witnessing it, but I'm not like there, which is just different. It's just a different experience. And I think that's kind of what they were going for. But I understand the point and I understand that they're in that situation, but I just feel when you're making a movie, this is a movie still, it's more effective to connect it to something human so that you can just like one little thing, or even just keep it on the one guy so that I'm more invested in him just because it's just a human instinct. Like I understand it, but I just think some of this is at odds with like telling a story, honestly. I always support people trying something different than the usual generic slop. I prefer a bold train wreck over a decently constructed generic slop, but that's just me. And this one is absolutely not a train wreck. No, it's not. And it's so refreshing in the sense that like, I'm still talking about it. I saw it weeks ago, right? Like I saw this video pop up and I was like, oh, great. Yeah, this is what I want to talk about because it is one of these films that I think is important, but I almost feel like it's like you need a little bit of just a preamble, understanding what you're getting yourself into because it's just so different. It's so atypical. Like there was this movie years ago, funny enough, Zach's called Sugar. And it was about this athlete, this minor league baseball player. And he's got the sugar, right? He's got like heat. He's just an incredible player. And he is struggling in like the minor leagues, but he's like, got fast track for the big leagues. But then like he doesn't succeed. Like, and at the end of the movie, he just leaves the minors and then just as a guy. And you're like, what the fuck? What was the point of that? Like, I want to watch someone like overcome their struggles and succeed, right? Like, that's not a real story. That's just that's a movie about a made up guy. But it's like, why did I watch that? Watch the guy fail? Like, I could just watch my own life. I don't need to go pay to see a movie about someone failing. Like I got that, that life experience I got covered. Don't worry. But it's just like, it's like, why did you do that? Like it didn't have like some poignant, like, statement. Like there's a movie called Fat City, I think from like 1970 something with Stacy Keach and a really young Jeff Bridges. And it's fan-fucking-tastic. Like I love it. And no one succeeds in that movie, but there was a comment on the tragedy. Like the movie's position was that it's tragic and sad that he failed. Then he just kind of, just withered as a person. But the movie Sugar was just like, yeah, and it's totally okay to be a failure. And you're like, what the fuck is the message here? What is this story? More than one way to skin a cat. You'll prefer something like The Outpost. The Outpost, fucking fantastic movie. What a great film that is. I do not know why that was not more popular. And I don't even remember hearing about that. 2 Medal of Honor like awardees in the same goddamn battle. Crazy. Yeah, that would probably be like something that would be more traditional, like movies, like storytelling. And I'm not saying movies need to be traditional. I'm not saying they do at all. I'm just saying there's certain things that when you break them, you also break the connection that the people can have with the movie, with the audience that you're trying to cultivate for this. Like, look, and if you want to fail on that, I think that's probably a more noble endeavor. I can just say, all I could say is how it affected me and how I related to a film. And like, I feel like I'm a pretty good audience for this type of, thing. Or maybe they are just trying to break, any kind of romance associated with it. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's like they are people, they are individuals who did this, even though it's about the unit. I think there's a way to thread that needle where you're watching it from a guy's perspective, but it is still about the unit. Like, I think Generation Kill nailed that. I think that's exactly what they were setting out to do, not elevating anyone's experience or anything about that. Like, you really understood the camaraderie with these guys, and it's all about the guy next to you, and that it's ugly and messy and war is not a good thing. But there was more of a human connection to the story. I just feel like this one's almost sterile in its lack of humanity characterizing these individuals. So I do think it's like I said, when I first watched it, I didn't like it. I didn't connect with it. And that's got to indicate something, man. I think that's, it's got to be a window into something. It could just be my own weakness with appreciating content. That's fair too. But I don't know. I just feel like I get it, but it's either it needs you need to understand that, you need to have the context going in, or I would adjust a little. Zax. Once I realized what I was watching, it increases the tension. Anything could happen at any time because it's real. That's fair. I think that's absolutely fair. And that's true. You're right. Because it's real. Because there isn't going to be the heroic, movie moments. It's like, well, this is how it went down. Exactly how it went down. And the enemy weren't dummies when they seemed to have the house locked down and some dude dropped a grenade in the sniper hole, because of course they did. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Or you connected with it in a different way, and you're still talking about it. That's fair too. But I think a lot of that is because, I was curious after the fact and wanted to go learn more about it. And I was like, who made this? Like, what was this? Like, this is so weird. Like, I was like, they didn't get any fucking bad guys. And like, I don't even know who was who. Like, I was like, like it was a little off for me. But then you're right. Then when I actually explored it and realized like, oh, this was like a whole like thing. This was like an endeavor. This was like, like an experimental film in a way. Like this was and done with all this like respect and practicality. Like I still don't think it works 100%, but it's like, you're right. I am still talking about it. Still love talking about it. Yeah, Outpost is such a good movie. Let's give a little bit more of this.
Because that tonal snap from levity to fear mirrors how the rest of the film continues to operate. Abrupt, disorienting, and completely uninterested in making the experience digestible. And that extends beyond editing or pacing. It's baked into the film's entire structure. Warfare doesn't follow a traditional Hollywood 3-act arc. There are no clear setups or payoffs, no backstories, no moments of redemption. Characters don't grow, they endure. And that's exactly what the film is capturing. Not a journey, but a stretch of time where surviving was the only objective.
Yeah, this guy's putting it exceptionally well. He's really summing up exactly like what the story was about. You know what I mean? Like what the experience of watching this was. And like Zax was pointing out, because of that, the tension is so high. But I guess maybe that was it. Like we as the audience get no relief from the tension. Maybe that was it. Maybe it just ends and you're like, God damn it. That was barely cathartic. You're like, fuck, that was like unpleasant to sit through, which I guess, I just had to sit through it on my couch, sipping rum. These guys had to go fucking do it. So, maybe I'm just being a bitch about it, but that guy's summation of this whole thing he absolutely nailed it. Hook. Warfare is going to pull you through it like an MRE spoon tugging the poop out of you after 3 days in the field without a toilet break. And all the MREs are halal chili mac. That is poetic. What a way with words you have, sir. But yeah, I mean, like I was just saying, I mean, it's good. It's almost exhausting to get through because the tension never stops. You're on edge the entire movie because it's just a like standard. It's just very simple. Like it's like they're like watching. It's not even like a combat op necessarily, and then it's just like them just leaving the house takes the whole movie, and it's just like because it's real. Like Zach points out, you don't know where it's going. You don't know what's going to happen. Meals ready to exit is what my brother called them in the army. That's funny. That's funny.
Mendoza and Garland dedicate a surprising amount of screen time to capturing the most mundane details before all hell breaks loose, down to a soldier scratching his head or another relieving himself into a bottle. And when you recall that opening title card, that this film is based on memory, these moments take on a deeper weight. They feel less like filler and more like fragments of real recollection, the kind of details that stick in your mind when the big picture starts to blur. As a result, the audience doesn't just watch the war, we're embedded in it. It shifts the viewing experience from passive to participatory, placing us right there in the room, in the silence, in the tension, waiting. The lack of conventional narrative structure is...
Yeah, I'll put the link of this video if you guys want to finish it in the chat here, because I don't want to just sit here and just watch this guy's video, but he did a fantastic job. He really sums it up, really like nails exactly like what the experience of watching that film is and why it's so admirable. So like I said, to begin this little segment, I didn't like it, but I think you should watch it because I appreciate it much more now that I know, now that I have the context. I think it's 100%, worth your time in the sense that it's like nothing you've ever seen before. And it shatters every convention of warfare genre movies at all. I mean, even something like Generation Kill, which I respect the absolute shit of and does like that job to go so into detail because it's David Simon of the Wire. So he just like all the little stuff that like a lot of movie makers would blow past and not concern themselves with. Like they were so oriented to these details that it's immersive and you see it from their perspective. Watching something like that, I feel like you have like a better like insight into just military operations in general. And this even destroys those conventions in the sense that like it's just painstakingly recreated and it is brutal, absolutely brutal. Yeah, and like the things these guys survived, and then they do, there is some kind of like wrap up at the end where you do gotta get to like experience like the real guys for a minute. But it's interesting, like even that I feel like is, it's like, do you remember watching Band of Brothers for the first time? And they would show like you get familiar with these characters like Garnier and stuff like that, and then when you'd see them like alive and they would reveal who was who that had been talking heads the whole time, you're like relieved. You're like, oh, thank God that guy's alive. It's like, even though they're just characters in a movie, it's like you do grow to care about them. So I understand their point, but I still think connecting with them on a human level is more compelling overall, just for like a storytelling perspective. But I think fuck all that, because this is important the way it was done. I just think you need to know that going in. That's all. Generation Kill missed the absolute fuck ups. What do you mean? What do you mean it missed the fuck ups? Yeah, Band of Brothers is absolutely goated. It's so fucking good. I love Band of Brothers so much. Yeah, it focused on the visceral. Absolutely. 100%. So like to the point where it's almost unpleasant. But it's like important. It's like it should be seen, and you just need to know why. Anyway, all right, that's gonna do it for this episode of the MFer podcast. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being patient with me and allowing the day delay. I'll try not to do that anymore. But yeah, next Monday back with the MFer podcast, and all y'all hanging out with me. Zach's new member, love it, new member. Fantastic. I love it. Thanks, buddy. And yeah, be seeing you guys. Be seeing you on the next one. Have a great night. Ta-ta. Peace.
How's that for a slice of fried gold?
Yeah, boy!